Hey, do you know who this guy is?
We're taking the national on a 6.
Hey, big fella. She, man, you going to damn. Hey, up there.
She not staying?
Let's swap chairs.
No, so if you get a chance, you already
Right? No, dude.
Yeah, I know.
I'm always on this side.
Excuse me.
Ginger, now, hey, let's get you down there. Hey, little man. Little Woodall, baby Woodall. I'm gonna tag you. Tag, bam, Smallwood.
Yes, bro.
We're about to get on here and we're about to have a good shizzo today. New Year's Eve. What are you saying?
Forward to it.
New Year's Eve.
It is New Year's Eve.
New Year's
It is.
Well,
It is. What's up, homies? What's up, Lacey? All right, do you know what today is, Weatherman? Weatherman, thank you for coming in here today.
Just for your show.
Just for our show. And I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you coming in here. But today, do y'all know who this is?
Brother Woodall.
That's Brother Woodall. Tony Woodall is up in here. Now, what Tony...
I thought he was taller.
I know. I feel tiny. I mean, look
Y'all
at
don't
this
know
right
I grew.
here, right
I've
here.
grown. I done got big. So everybody, if you're Tony Woodall's friend, I'm Good Time Tommy. Please follow me. I need your help. Do you know why? Because I want to be the #1 expert in real estate digital content in the great town of Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Actually, the whole wide world.
Including Woodbury.
Including the Woodbury. Including people down in Decatur, Alabama. Roll Tide. Roll. Tom, love, great to have breakfast with you on Saturday. As always, you help me think so much bigger, man. I appreciate you. So here's what we're talking about today. Tony Woodall is a very, very tall man, but he's very...
6'2", 6'1.5".
He's a very deep man. Very deep. Very deep. And one of the things I want to talk about, because I think we're all in agreement, the first of the year we get inspired, we get motivated, and we ready to get some shit done with our life. We ready to make some damn changes, ain't we?
Oh, it's just way too much foul language.
Well, why do we want to make changes? Why the first of the year are we ready? We're ready this time, ain't we, Kathleen? We're serious. Why are we serious this time of year?
We got new desks.
Yeah, we all like a fresh start. And, it's like Monday. Monday represents a fresh start. If you're religious, usually Sunday represents a fresh start for you. And the first of the year usually represents something fresh.
Is that all you got?
That's all I got right now. How about them Titans last night?
I thought you were about to really do some schooling, some education.
I'm not going to throw it all out there in the first 30 seconds.
Well, he does not know what we're talking about. He come in here unprepared. You know, I'm used to having the weatherman up here. I ain't got to prepare him. But, hey, please like, comment, share the stream for us. Please share the stream. So let's take me, for example. 2018 did not go my way. Why is it so important that...
Why do you say that?
Well, it didn't go my way. It did not meet my expectations.
Why do you say that?
Because I had these
What was
expectations.
the expectation?
These expectations were to sell 150 homes.
Did you do better than last year?
No.
You did.
How?
Because if you look at the overall spectrum, you did a lot better. You moved tremendous strides. So we always get caught up in the little things and forget the big things.
Okay. But I still feel like I've got to own the fact that I didn't hit my goal.
How many goals did you have?
You get the weight goal?
My weight goal? Nope. Didn't hit that one either. So,
Did you have a written list of your goals last year?
yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
Have you looked at them?
Yeah.
And you just failed miserably in all of them?
I don't want to say I failed miserably, but I did not hit what I wanted to hit.
Was one of your goals from last year that you were going to probably triple the size of your team and move into a large
Now look,
office?
we can bring all those
Well, I'm
things
asking you,
up.
was that...
I mean, we can bring
Here's
all
what I'm
those
asking you,
things
was
up
that
there.
one of your goals?
No,
Okay, but it happened anyway.
it did.
So when you said you wanted to do 150 transactions, a lot of times what we find out with goals are they don't turn out necessarily like we thought they would when we made them. So you have the ability now probably to do way more than 150 transactions.
Perhaps.
And I like what
Perhaps.
The team that you have. So your 150 transactions may not have come with your closings for this past year, but you now have the ability to do way more than that.
We do.
I mean, we have foggy eyes at the beginning of the year when we start laying out what the future's going to hold, which we do not have one iota of what the future's going to hold. We are not in control of any of it. All of us have woken up one morning and boom, we get a phone call and somebody we love's not even here anymore.
That happened this year.
That did happen this year. So when we set goals, we do set specific goals. We do hone in on what we want, but what we cannot do is control how that goal is reached. So, you can break it down however you want to. You can say every 30 seconds for the next year, I'm going to do this thing in order to reach that goal. And you get to the end of the year, and that may have happened. But not all goals are intentional goals with intentional returns. What we want.
Now say that again. Slow it down. Hit rewind.
Well,
You can't even say that again, can you?
yeah. I mean, they're basically just taking. If you took one apple seed and you walked out there and planted that one seed, what are you going to get? One apple tree.
An apple tree?
Yep. You'll get one apple tree, but you think that's what you're planting is one apple tree. You think that's what you're after. But what you've just done is planted an orchard. Because as soon as that tree grows and produces multiple apples and they die and drop to the ground and their seeds hit the dirt, you all of a sudden are experiencing miraculous, or Elizabeth Gilbert would call it big magic in her book. You're experiencing returns you couldn't even see.
That's right.
So there are intentional ways of manifesting goals, and there are mysterious or magical ways of manifesting goals. And if we only get what we ask for, I mean, it's going to be a long, hard life. I mean, and sometimes what we think we're asking for, we actually don't realize that after we get it, we're not sure if we wanted that or not. Pretty sure we didn't. So, I mean, it starts off intentional, but the big fun in goal setting is when we start to realize what we never could have imagined, more than we can ask or imagine.
So we're going to get into the way I like your 7 streams. And just by chance, you've already opened it up to that. Were you wanting to go there?
Well, I figured, we were going to talk about why Mariota didn't play last night, or we were going to talk about goal setting for the year.
You just knew. You know me, don't you?
Yeah.
But before we get into this, people get on to me because I talk really hard on myself. And I think that's okay. I think it's okay for me to kind of call myself out on. Like, you always get on me about that, right? But, one of the things, when I met Grant Cardone, I had my little meeting with him, and I started getting hard on myself, and I kind of anticipated him to correct me, so I softened up. And he's like, well, it's okay to be hard on yourself. Not enough people are hard on themselves. A lot of times we don't want to be hard on ourselves. So what is your opinion of that?
Well, I think it's fine to be hard on yourself as long as you're living in community, as long as you're part of a team. I mean, that's what the whole idea of community is about. Not everybody's wired the same. So you can be hard on yourself, and one of the reasons you can is because you've got some people around you going, now wait.
Yeah.
That wasn't all your fault. Or that wasn't all you're doing. So, being part of a team where everybody's not the same. What if you're part of a team of 5 people and everybody's just bone hard on themselves and all the rest of them are just jackass?
We'd have a lot of negativity around it.
And everybody's just agreeing with every negative thing that's said. You're not, nobody will last a year in that team.
Well, think about this: when you're raising a kid, and you had kid issues all year, we all do. And I did this completely ass backwards. If you got a kid that completely messes up, we focus more on the mess up, and we don't let them know we love them. And they have to counteract with each other. So there's nothing wrong with being hard on yourself, but you still have to see that potential that everybody sees in you, because negativity will block out positivity.
Right.
It'll kill it. Like, if you're dark, you can't see light, but all you got to do is put a little bit of light in darkness, and you'll see the light.
Before we get going on to the good stuff, Brittany Renee is finally on here. She knew I should. She should have been on. No, she didn't. As I'm looking at myself, I want you to be honest. I need a haircut, don't I?
I was just about to say, I was looking at the camera going,
These sideburns,
big
I look
spider web
like
out there.
John Schneider in Dukes of Hazzard. So one of the
I think you
things,
look at it like him in his last movie he had right now.
so one of the things that Brother Woodall helped me understand. Now, you know, when things start to go good in your life, you really get away from the things that kind of made you good. Does that make sense? Yeah. It's easy to get away from fundamentals that you were doing. So I need to get back. Just got out of the shower. I wouldn't miss the morning grind. Well, thank you, baby. I love you. I appreciate you getting on here. One of the things that you taught me that really awakened the whole person was your 7 streams of living. So for the rest of the show, I really just want you to go through what the 7 streams are. Why are they important? Why should other people follow your 7 streams?
Okay, well, I don't care whether anybody else follows it or not. It came about to help me. I guess one of the things that's really important when we're setting goals to go into this is realize that 2 things. Basically, we're not all starting from the same place. Some people, their next 10 years of goals may be to take them from a good starting point into their future. Other people may be starting in a hole that takes them 10 years to get out of. And they may wind up accomplishing more than the person who's starting on level ground to start with. But they have got a hole they've got to dig out of first. Mm-hmm. So it's really important. Our goals will have a different nature to them when what we're doing is crawling out of a hole. Like 12 years ago, I drove a perfectly good business into the ground. Totally destroyed it. Wound up $500,000 in unsecured debt, which to some people that's not a lot of money, but to me, $500,000 is a lot of money. Mm-hmm. So I've spent the last 12 years climbing out of a hole, paying that back. Mm-hmm. Well, I probably made more money in the last 12 years than I have made in my, probably the rest of my lifetime. But I've been paying back that debt that I owed. And so right now it may look like to some people on the outside, well, Woodall doesn't have anything. Well, okay, that's fine. What I also don't have is a guilty conscience anymore. I don't have to hide when I walk around town because there's people I owe money to. Uh-huh. So not everything, we're not always starting from the same spot. That's one thing. The other thing is, everything in life usually, there's a lot more to life than just how we're making money and what business is like and all that good stuff. So I did. When I was in that hole, I was extremely struggled with depression a lot. So some of my goals had to be, how am I going to get out of this funk I'm in? How am I going to, so that I can even set some other kind of goals to be able to work and do some things like that. So I didn't have a lot of money then. And you used to come visit me over there on Villa Street, over at
Villa Street.
On Villa
You know where
Street,
Villa is, weatherman?
On the crib, in the crib. So I had one plug in the whole house, and so I found myself over at Hastings, that old bookstore that used to be out there where the rock climbing place is now. They had a dollar table out there, and I was looking through there. And I found a book for $1 and a few cents. Anyway, it wound up being $1.27. That's what the book cost me. And it was called The Millionaire Course. It was a little paperback by a guy named Mark Allen. And Mark Allen just happened to, it was kind of a trick book because what he was really trying to show us was that not all of our wealth is in green paper. And if we think the best part of our wealth is in green paper, we're probably missing most of what life's about. Mm-hmm. Doesn't mean that green paper is not important. It doesn't mean that it's not a tool that can provide some things for us. But usually if we start at green paper, which is something we don't have at the time, instead of starting with what we do have, I'm not a big religious person, but one of the things I like that Jesus says is if you'll be faithful or give focus to the little bit you have in your hand, you'll see more manifest. Most of the time we're focused on what we want, which means we're actually focusing on what we don't have instead of focusing on what we do have, and watch that begin to grow. So he said, I'd like for you to make a list of what you think will be helpful to you, and he shared some of his list. So I kind of took his list, added some things that were important to me, and came up with these 7 streams. And because it helps me to remember things by making them all start with the same letter, here's what I did. The first one was presence. The first stream, I call them 7 streams of life. The first one is presence. And it has to do with my spiritual life. Okay, it has to do with anybody's spiritual life. The second one is people. And it has to do with the people in your life. It's your family, it's your friends, it's neighbors, it's people who are important to you. It's someone you may have never met. For you, before you even met Grant Cardone, you were reading Grant Cardone. So Grant Cardone was an important person in your life. For me, it was my kids. I was beginning to have grandchildren at the time. It was buddies. It was my family. Those types of things. And so the second one's people. The third one is purpose, and that's purpose had to do with what the reason I feel like I'm here, and that may or may not have anything to do with money. You know, a job puts beans and taters on the table, basically, but that may not be the thing that wakes you up in the morning. My dad worked for 40 years as a pressman for Fruhoff. And they basically make the aluminum trailers you'll see big rigs pulling out there. Well, you think that's what he felt like woke him up in the morning and he's going to be a pressman in an aluminum plant and stand on concrete for 8 hours a day for 40 years? No. What woke him up in the morning was the idea, the thought that maybe his 2 sons could go to college. And that's why he spent 40 years as a pressman on a floor. And some people may say, well, man, he could have done that. But he needed to get in sales, he needed to do this. Well, that's fine. But that wasn't what was on his picture. Mm-hmm. So the primary reason I asked him one day why you did that, he says, because I could be home at 3:30 every day and coach every dadgum team you ever played on. Well, we all have things that are differently important to us, you know. So purpose was the third one. Fourth one is prosperity, and that has to do with, that can have to do with how you make money. But prosperity, if our picture of prosperity is just money, just green paper, we are missing the fact that we might be the richest person that we know, and we feel totally bankrupt because we think riches is only money, which it can include money. But I'm tell you what, it'd be hard for me to find somebody as rich as me in this town.
There you go.
There's a lot of people got more money than me, but there ain't many people got wonderful friends like I have, and kids like I've got with huge hearts, and grandchildren that are just all over the place. So prosperity is another one. Pleasure, number 5, that's my health. I used to not give 2 hoots about my health. Well, I'm about 23 months away from being 60, and it matters now. My lower back hurt all the way in here this morning. I was dog cussing you. Pleasures, it could be travel. It could be whatever you enjoy. The 6th one is philanthropy. And it's what you're going to give away. And you've been doing that with First Shot this past year and some other stuff, and you guys have, your company has. And then the 7th one is like the legacy you leave behind. But I needed to start it with a P, so I put Phinish down, Phinish. And that helps me. Because we're going to live on past the time that we're gone. So what are people going to say? What are they going to think about me when I was here? Will there be somebody who goes, man, I remember this time Tommy Davidson said this, or I remember this time the weatherman said this, or I remember when I used to go in that office, Sparkles, man, she just lit that place up, you know. And so it can be anything like that. So those were my 7 streams. So every year I make goals in every one of those streams. Every one of them. And then I dig around in I usually make 5 to 7 goals in each stream. And then I pull one goal out of each one of those, and they become my main goal list for the year. And I start intentionally doing the things there, realizing that I'm not just going to get that one apple tree, but by the end of the year, this thing's going to explode into all kinds of stuff. And so it's been amazing for me the last 12 years because it has. This is the first year in 12 years that I'm starting that I am not in debt since I was 22 years old. It's been a long climb out of that hole. But,
you know, right now I have, I've been feeling a lot of anxiety, a lot of fears. I've been telling Brittany, I don't know why I feel like this. Now, I've had bouts of anxiety before. And I'm just looking, and it's probably because some things aren't in alignment with what I promised myself in 2009. Like now I'm looking financially, I feel like, hey, the Treasury Department over here, Kathleen, has helped me get a much better understanding of where we are, our expenses, and those things start to stress me out.
Yeah, fear. When we start launching out in some areas that are new, we're going to experience some fear. And when we start to get afraid of something, we usually run back to our cave.
Yeah.
That's been our cave for a long
Yeah.
time. If we don't look at it, maybe I won't be afraid.
But let me ask you.
So by not looking at it, it makes us even more afraid and more anxiety, which is what Kathleen is doing, is helping.
No,
you.
I'm glad she's doing it.
She's coming in with.
But tell me this, counselor, how can I see that it's important for me to grow? And to grow, I gotta do all these things. Like she said, hey, there's really nothing you can cut back on this. There's just nothing you can do about it. Mm-hmm. So how do you cope with, hey, I wanna grow, but I've gotta face this. And my body, I'm all shaky. I'm all shook up, like Elvis used to say. I can't sleep, I can't breathe normal. I just experienced a lot of anxiety. I don't feel good.
Yeah.
How would you tell me to cope with that?
Well, first thing I tell you is have some good, healthy ways to get your anxiety out. And we got some fireball.
Some
of us are usually. So I saw it on the shelf in there, and I thought, yeah, that's a good, healthy way to get some anxiety out.
That really doesn't help me.
No, we normally have some go-tos that we go back to the way we've dealt with anxiety in the past, which have not been very healthy. Mm-hmm. And that's the first thing that's going to enter our mind is what we're familiar. Yeah, they're fun. Yeah. And with anytime you have a new thing that you're going after, a new goal that you're going after, we ought to know that coming with that is going to be some new stress. Yeah. So at the same time that I'm planning new ventures that are going to take me out in places I haven't been before, I'm also going to be prepared with new things that are going to bring stress relief to me. And that might be new ways of doing the gym. For some people, it might just be getting out of bed and going to the gym. Other people, they may have gotten so comfortable with their little gym life that it may take something different now. For me this past year, it needed to be something different.
Yoga.
Yeah. So
Can you get down there and show us what you got?
Okay, right now. So my wife's had a yoga practice for a long time, and so she handles a lot more than I do on a daily basis and stays pretty non-stressed. So I started doing yoga this year, and that's a funny thing to watch a fella 6'8" do yoga.
I think your diet really affects your anxiety levels.
Yes.
You know, my diet is not where it needs to be, and I know that. I know I'm not where I need to be.
And when I say diet, when you say diet, it's not about what your stomach looks like. It's not about whether you look like you've gained or lost weight. It's about the types of food you're eating, and whether they provide clarity, whether they provide energy or not. Instead of, because anybody can look good. There's a lot of unhealthy people. I don't really want to, but I'll do it because it's your show. There you go. There's a lot of people that look great in a bathing suit out here that are unhealthy as hell.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
but it's to me, it's more about when you're eating a lot of sugar, when you're eating a lot of these bad things. I just don't feel normal.
Or drinking a lot of sugar.
Or drinking a lot of sugar. Yeah. I tried. So, hey, I do want to go back and address Lynette. She says, I don't care if someone follows me or not. It's such a dishonor to your viewers. Words matter. Honor the time that people are spending to listen to you. You do have a good message. I think you took that. That's not what we said, Lynette. What you were talking about when I asked you, why should somebody use your 7 streams? And you said, I don't care if they do or not.
Yeah, I mean, my purpose was in doing this was just for me. I don't have a product I'm selling.
Yeah, I understand.
And so this is what I do in my personal life. If this is helpful to someone, I'm happy.
Yeah, but you didn't say I don't care if anybody follows. We didn't say
No. I'd be happy to make a copy and send it to you, Lynette. No problem at all. I appreciate your thoughts as well. And maybe Lynette, I don't need to say that. Maybe that is a little dishonoring to what I've done before, and so thank you for sharing that.
Wait a minute, is there anything you'd like to add? Because I know you get on me about what I say to myself.
Yeah, I mean, everybody, so goals may take 7 to 10 years to reach. And people we're a fast-paced mentality. We want it right now.
Microwave me up,
But
Smalls.
the problem is we taught that epidemic to our kids. We don't believe in hard work and setting a goal.
That's right.
and striving for it. If we don't make the first year, we don't make the second year. Well, guess what? You had a goal to be to 100. You got it.
Yeah.
How many years did it take you?
Yeah,
What if you'd quit year 3?
that's right.
Yeah. Well, here's what there's some bobbleheads on the TV.
Every great thing always comes before a struggle or a triumph. You got to remember that.
That's right.
Most people give up at the breakthrough point, and the breakthrough point means it's like you're tired of beating on the wall and you just don't want to beat no more. But if you took 1 or 2 more punches, you'd got through to the other side.
That's right. Now, here's the one thing I was going to get to. See, I was going to let y'all, I was throwing this stuff out there to get y'all to talk, you know, because I didn't even know if you'd say a word when you got on here. But here's something that I know to be true.
Yeah.
And I accept it because I believe in a higher power. When things don't go my way in that moment, I accept it. In the past, I would make a big deal about not getting my way in something. And then later, I would find out that ain't really what I needed. This happened for a better reason. Like what you're saying earlier on the program, that sometimes we're asking for these little bitty small things. I get focused on this little bitty dot. I didn't get this little bitty dot, but I got something a lot bigger. And that happens.
Yeah, well,
blessings. I think we call that a blessing.
What if you had on your goal list that year that I'd like to have an orchard out in the back part of my property, and all you got at the end of that year was one little apple seed, and you actually had the orchard in your hand, but you couldn't see it.
You didn't want to wait.
You know,
that's exactly, every year at the end of the year on my goals, I sit down and I look at them. I say, what did I get to this year? What did I not get to this year?
Yep.
On the list that I did not get to this year, then I say, is that still important to me? Does that still give me butterflies a little bit? Is that something I'm still at? If it is, I just go ahead and move it to this next year. If it's not, I just let it go.
One of the things one thing I remember Wormy telling you when you were a boy, when you were young, was I cannot remember. You're gonna finish it once I tell you. But he was making an example. You were really shook up about something in your life. Maybe it was a girl. Maybe it was something. And he used an analogy of a farm. How you were so worried about this little 1 acre of your farm, but all the 99 other. What was that? What did he say?
Yeah, Wormy is my daddy. He said, son, you're like a farmer that's got 100 acres of gorgeous corn and 1 bad row of beans. And you just stand there and stare at that 1 bad row of beans. And while you're staring at them, the crows are eating your corn to death. You know, you're losing the good stuff you've got because you're focused on what you think you don't or what you think is bad.
See, I think that's what's happened to me in 2018 is I'm focused on really something so small. I probably am not aware of, like Stephen says, there's such a breakthrough coming for us. And right now I'm sitting here worrying about something that I really shouldn't be. I should be more grateful.
The goal is to get to what?
300.
Okay.
Well,
Okay,
George Weeks, hey, congratulations to George
Let me
Weeks.
ask you a question. How you get to 300?
That's right.
How? Well,
How?
You spend more money, you hire more agents, you grow a bigger team. I mean, it's part of it. Now, guess what? When you do that and you've never done it, there's bumps and bruises and fights and arguments and transitions and get there to where we have several talks and communications. But together, if everybody believes in the vision, the goal, you get through that. It's like being you play sports. How many times did you fight with some of your best friends on the football field?
Oh, yeah.
It's just part of it. But to get to that goal, it takes where you're at now. Now, what happens when you're at now, when you start seeing all this stuff and you talk about it? One of the most powerful things I ever heard is a friend of ours named Steve Moon Guy is you have to learn how to have peace. And if you have peace, all these things will make it. But see, if you don't have any kind of peace and you let these things take you out of your peace, then it's really going to hold you way back.
Yeah.
You got to have the peace to know that you have hired the right people to get you there, that you have peace that people believe in you to get you there, that you have peace that you are surrounded by great influential people, and that you have peace that you've had some of the great mentors. Now, why don't you think you can get there? Why do you think that this small step is tough when really it's just part of the process?
You're already, here's the thing that's so important what he just said is, when you said it, you said, I want to get to 300. You're already in that process. Getting to 300 is not about the day you get to 300. Somebody says 300. Getting to 300 is already happening.
right. Yeah.
You're in the process right now.
Yeah. So I'll use this analogy. When Notre Dame got curb stomped again by Clemson,
That ain't about it.
well, that curb stomping did not take place that night.
That's exactly right.
That took place over the course of the last 3 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, that team of Clemson with all those great players.
And two great coaches. I mean, you know, now look, I mean, you know.
So what happens today really started a long time ago.
Yeah, it really,
And-
everybody worries about this day to start your goal. When true professional teams and true people making that impact, they were already working on their goals
That's right.
Yeah.
2 or 3 months ago.
Yeah.
For the next year. They don't start today. They've already been started.
And they've got 5 and 10 and 20-year goals
Yeah.
out there, and work. They get, if whatever their 20-year goal is, they'll work back then.
Yep.
And say, if this is going to happen in 20 years, this got to happen in 15. This got to happen in 10. This got to happen in 5.
Yeah.
It's got to happen now. I mean,
My
it's-
good-
Most every leader has in their life.
What?
Insecurities and fear. But that's why you surround yourself with people that believe.
Yeah,
in
hey,
it.
you know, hey,
Push
this
that.
past year, if I'd have listened to myself, hey, I'd probably be working somewhere
Right.
else.
The leader of the country walks around with the same types of fears.
Yeah, of course.
You know what I mean?
Blake, our good friend Blake Duncan, what he said, self-limiting thoughts are the hardest thing to overcome. You told me believing in yourself is one of the hardest. There's 2 things Tony Woodall told me that are very hard to do. One is to change who you are. Number 2 is to believe in yourself.
That's why you hire people around you to believe in
that's
it.
why you got to be a part of a team.
Yeah.
We live in a very independent-minded thinking culture, to where everybody, if I don't, if I don't do this thing on my own, I won't get all the credit. The day you decide that I don't want to get all the credit, I want us to get the credit, you've now put on a power that you can't imagine. You've moved from me to we. If you can allow
We are the greatest.
if you can allow we to work,
are the greatest.
you can be a part of an end of a great end.
I
result.
believe that. I really do believe that. But hey, thank you, man, for coming on here. Every time you come on here, I feel like we have a great show.
We like to end the church with a prayer.
I feel like we have a great show. I believe you bring things in here, and man, I want you to come back on here because here's what I need from you. There's times when I want to step back because I feel like I'm not going to be able to move forward. I feel like I can't do it. And it's kind of like whenever you're on the treadmill and you're running and your mind's telling you to stop. That's why I do need people like you around me to say, hold up, dude.
Well,
come on, man.
You actually
Come on,
have-
man.
You actually
come
have
on,
that.
man.
I happen to know that most mornings of the week, you have a group of your we that you have breakfast with.
Yep.
And some of those are some of the brightest minds in the business you're in this community. Do you know how many people would love to be having breakfast at that place and are not? And you are.
We got a full table, don't we?
Yeah.
It started out with me and Weatherman. Now it's a lot of us.
That's right.
Well, Roy.
Roy Frazier, you were there.
He's like the captain of the table now.
You have a relationship with one of the top business minds in the Western world today.
Who's that?
Cardone.
Hey.
Oh, Cardone.
Cardone. Oh, you talking about? I thought you were talking about John Floyd.
Well,
my best
I already
friend.
mentioned Floyd when I
Oh.
said you have breakfast 5 mornings a week with some of the brightest minds in what you do. I mean, goodness gracious! And then the team that has been assembled here. I mean, don't beat yourself up. You have had the wisdom to put this team together. And this is just the beginning of it. So you're in a community of people.
We
that are
added
gonna-
this guy on Friday.
Yeah, and I'm about ready to throw him through the window.
Hey, we about
And-
to do the drums.
Yeah.
That's a small idea.
You're gonna be great. It's gonna be fun to watch what happens. And I'm just telling you, as long as it's okay that we gets the glory at the end, then you will do fine.
Did you hear that? Did you hear that?
Yep.
Anybody that lives in me will not get very far. There's an old African proverb. If you want to get somewhere fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, you take somebody with you.
Let's shut it down on that. Brother Woodall, thank you for joining us.